These are my top 10 ARs from MW2 heading into MW3. I do want to say first, Octane is not on this list because he did retire and he's not heading into MW3. But if we were doing this solely based off of Modern Warfare 2 with him included, I would have him at number 3. And for this list, I did combine main ARs and flexes. There really wasn't too much of a flex role last year. You didn't really see people flexing weapons, so I did just put them together for this video. Now, there were 12 guys that I had in serious consideration for the top 10. So to give you my 2 honorable mentions, the guys that just barely missed it in 11th and 12th, I do have Temp and Slasher. I really think Slasher should be in the top 10, but all the guys above him, I honestly think that are a little bit more deserving. Honestly, the real differentiator between Slasher and some of the other guys on this list is Slasher probably had the strongest teammates out of all the other players. Obviously, Atlanta FaZe, the trio of Atlanta FaZe, that is the strongest trio in the league by far. So just for that reason, I unfortunately left Slasher off the list. And then Temp, obviously, just didn't really see the team's success. So for that reason, he was also left off. Now, getting the list started at number 10, I do have Sib. Sib came in, you know, probably the second best player on his Seattle Surge team, which overall last year was pretty disappointing. He did have a 1.04 KD overall, so he did take a little bit of a step back from his rookie year in Vanguard, but overall, Sib was an impactful player on his team. Sib also had a 1.08 KD overall in Hardpoint, which is really, really good, especially when you consider his nearly 2,900 damage per 10-minute average, which is up there for the best. Then coming in at number 9, I do have the rookie Dan Ghosty. Ghosty might have only put up a 0.93 overall KD for the season, but he was very good in Search and Destroy with a 1.05. But really what puts him on the list, as I'm sure everybody knows, is more of those intangibles and the way he was able to take this Optic Texas team and lead them to back-to-back second places on LAN, as well as back-to-back 5-0 records in online qualifiers. Ghosty's leadership, his teamwork, and everything he brought to this Optic team and the way he turned them around is something that really has to be praised and is one that I'm really excited to see next year on the LA Thieves. Coming in at number 8, I do have Insight from the Toronto Ultra, a 1.03 overall KD and a 1.1 KD in Control. Insight is one of the slowest players in the league, but the role he plays on his team is absolutely crucial. He was one of the biggest objective players in the entire league, and Insight is a player who's found success every single year of this CDL, almost always making a finals or making his team one of the best in the game. But coming in at number 7, just ahead of Insight for a very similar reason, is going to be Priesta. Priesta, for me personally, actually had a really underrated year, especially now that he was dropped by the New York Subliners. I feel like people really are forgetting just how good he even was individually. Priesta had a 1.04 KD overall, as well as a 1.03 in Hardpoint and a 1.04 in Control. Priesta really is one of the best filler players in the entire league. He is your perfect role player for just about any team. He can fill whatever role you need done and will do it to the best of his ability. And for that very reason, Subliners were able to win half of the events last year. And like I said, on top of being able to do just about anything you want around the map, Priesta can hold his own and he can get kills. And so for me personally, I don't know if Subliners dropping him was the best idea, but I am excited to see what he can do on Boston. Speaking of Boston, coming in at number 6, the now ex-Boston player, new Minnesota Rocker player, it is Awakening. Big Wake is one of the best slaying players in the league and is really good at playing his life, shown by his 1.18 overall KD for the season. His Search and Destroy numbers might not have been the best, but a 1.19 in Hardpoint and a 1.17 in Control shows how good he can be in Respawn. And even though Boston didn't necessarily see the success many of us would have wanted them to see, especially with Awakening at number 6 on this list, his individual skill is nothing that you can overlook, and I really think he is up there as one of the better ARs. Now we get into number 5, and at number 5, the newest Atlanta FaZe player, we have Draza. Statistically, Draza's season might not have been as good as we've grown to expect from him, coming up with a 1.02 overall and his absolute best game mode, which being Search and Destroy, with a 1.12. Draza is and will continue to be one of the best Search and Destroy players in the game, and his ability to make plays to propel his team to the top is undeniable, obviously with LA Thieves getting another major win last season at MW2. Draza is absolutely a player who should be in the top 5 for ARs and can even move up this list, but it's going to be interesting to see how that works out with his new superstar teammates he has down in Atlanta FaZe. Coming in at number 4, the one everyone's going to attack me for in the comments, it is Dashy. Dashy is an incredible player, great at every single game mode, a 1.08 KD overall, a 1.1 in Hardpoint, a 1.18 in Search and Destroy, and a 1.04 in Control. He can do it all. He's obviously the straightest shooter in the league, but for me personally, the team's success just wasn't there for me to put him in the top 3. Obviously, they did get second at 2 lands, like I said for Ghosty earlier on in this video, but I really do think that Dashi is still one of the best ARs in the league and will continue to be one of the best ARs in the league. But now we get into our top 3, and at number 3, I think personally maybe one of the most underrated players in the league is Skies. Now obviously Skies does have a lot more respect on his name now that Subliners went absolutely crazy last year, winning 2 majors and champs. But what Skies brings to this team is really, really good and tends to be overlooked when you have obviously the MVP in Hydra, as well as another star in Kismet. But Skies put up a 1.07 overall, a 1.08 in Hardpoint, a 1.03 in Search and Destroy, and a 1.03 in Control. And he really was the backbone of this New York Subliners team, obviously playing the main AR role. He also played some objective and has just been one of the most consistent ARs in the league for a very long time now. But now coming into our top 2, obviously we're between Cellium and Scrappy, and for me personally, I have Cell at 2 and Scrappy at 1. Cellium is of course the hardest person to kill in the entire league and the absolute best at playing his life. But for me, and I'm sure for a lot of other people, sometimes he plays his life a little bit too well, and I do think it can cost them in big moments in certain games. And for that reason, that's why I have Scrappy at number 1, because Scrappy is a very fast-paced AR player, sometimes keeping up with his SMGs. That's how fast he can be. But he's still able to put up absolutely insane numbers. And for me personally, as a Call of Duty fan, I value someone's impact around the map a little bit more than their KD. But Cellium, of course, led the league with a 1.21 overall, a 1.2 in Hardpoint, a 1.16 in Search and Destroy, and a 1.22 in Control. And the man Scrappy put up a 1.14 overall KD, a 1.12 in Hardpoint, a 1.14 in Search and Destroy, and a 1.18 in Control. Obviously, like I said, his numbers, you know, a few points below Cellium, but when you consider how fast he plays, how impactful he can be, and also the fact that he was a rookie and came in and ended up being a top 3 player, this kid is absolutely incredible. He's a really long, bright future ahead of him in the CDL, and with the older guys like Scump, Crim6, Clayster probably soon going to be retiring, I think, you know, Scrappy, Hydra, those guys are really going to be the next faces of the league. And yeah, those are my top 10 ARs from the Modern Warfare 2 season. If you disagree, agree with the list, let me know in the comments. Obviously, it is very hard to make a perfect list. No one's ever going to completely agree. I do think this is really fun, and I'm looking forward to doing many more lists, rankings, things like that throughout this season for Modern Warfare 3. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.